Rest and suffering, I call it forced rest. That's when you're unable or incapable of taking care of yourself, taking care of your family. In my case, I wasn't allowed to do anything, not allowed to go anywhere, not allowed to be around anyone. And even when I tried, I was unable to do a lot of the things. This didn't last for days, it didn't last for weeks, it lasted for months. And I realized I had limits. And when you have limits, that's very humbling in life. No one wants to be sick, no one wants to be unable to take care of themselves, and no one wants to be unable to take care of their family. No one wants a surgery. No one wants a surgery. And I remember saying, Lord, I just don't have time for this. I don't have time. I'm always taking care of someone. I'm always doing something. I'm always busy, busy, busy. And I was desperate, and I was in a lot of pain. So I had no choice but to have the surgery. I think the scary part of it all is not knowing what my future was going to be like. And when you stop and think about it, not knowing what you will be able to do after your surgery that you could do before is very scary. Your life is going to change and be totally different. My surgery was back in 2002. I know it was a long, long time ago, but I can remember almost every single detail of that surgery, what I went through. Like I said before, I was in a lot of pain. It was constant pain, no relief at all. It just never eased up, so I needed that surgery. Then after my surgery, that pain that I had was gone, and now I had to recuperate, which is a different type of pain. I had to learn how to move my arm again. I had to be retrained in a lot of areas. It just was a very difficult time, and I was forced to be still in a lot of areas, and that's very hard for me. I also learned that I had to pray for my husband because Tim really had a lot of responsibility now. He had to take care of me. He had to learn how to do my therapy for me so he could do it for me 3 times a day at least. He took care of my kids. He took care of the house. He had to go to work. Every responsibility was on him. And I really knew that I had to pray for him to be able to hold it together too. I just was in a different spot, and it was a very deep, dark spot that I was in. And sometimes you just don't know where to go, and you don't want to put more pressure on someone else or your kids or your family or your friends. But after the surgery, when I came out and I didn't have that pain anymore, I was so grateful. I was so grateful to God. First of all, logically, it was because the pain was gone. It's like, oh, I'm not in this constant pain. I'm not suffering anymore. The therapy and everything that I needed to do with it was different. But I was so grateful to him, and it was like I just had this grateful heart. I was like, I wanted to know more of him. Songs were coming to my head, and things that the pastor said to me, my other pastors had said to me, were just coming to me, and people were giving me words of encouragement, keep on a positive. And I knew God was there. So the first time I was by myself, it's like I remember sitting in the living room, and I looked around. Tim was at work. The kids were all gone. There was no one there. I could manage a few things. And I remember saying, now what? Now what? I'm not used to sitting still. I'm not used to not going to work. I'm not used to taking care of the house and having dinner ready. And it was scary. I remember my heart was pounding, and I'm like, now what am I going to do with my life? What can I do? Where am I going, and what's going to happen? So I just sat. God, I know you're here. I know you're in the midst of it. I know you're here. So I needed to start somewhere. I knew I needed to start somewhere, and my praise was coming out of my lips, and the songs were coming out. But I knew I wanted more. I knew it was a time for me to draw into a deeper place, and it was time that the Lord was saying, settle down, Bonnie. So I started. Me and my clumsiness, I'm right-handed, so now I'm left-handed. Tried opening my Bible, got my pen and paper because I'm a writer, and I realized I can't even do that. I'm not capable of writing left-handed, understanding what I'm trying to write. So I thought, okay, it's time to wait. It's time to wait again. So I just sat there. And all of a sudden, I could hear him. It wasn't a loud voice. It was a still, small voice. And I remember listening. And I call it my rabbit ears. A few of my friends have heard me say that my ears perk up. And I know you have to be quiet. And I turn my head and I listen. It was a very still, small voice, like a whisper. And I says, I know you're here, God. I want more of you. So he got my attention. And I was willing and I was able. I was so grateful to him. I wanted more. So I remember he took me. I remember just seeing things and reading with my Bible, and everything I read came alive. It was like he was right here beside me. The stories, I walked through the stories with him. I remember seeing things in his eyes. And I remember he said, I'm going to show you from heaven's view down. And that's a different view. I'm looking at my circumstances of where I'm at. He said, I'm going to show you heaven's view down. You can see everything surrounding you, and you're seeing it differently. So I had such a deep relationship with him, a relationship that I was so grateful. And it was actually, I knew it was time for everyone to come home, and I knew the busy time was coming and time for therapy again. And I remember saying, no, not yet, not yet. The hours just flew by. And I just like saying, no, I'm not ready yet. I want more time, I want more time. I now knew God in a different way. He knew me. He knows all my faults. He knows all my wrongs. But now I know his character. I know more about him than what was ever revealed to me before, because I was willing to take the time to listen to him. He listened to me, and I listened to him. He talked to me, and I talked to him just the way I'm talking to you now. And I'm just so grateful that he's willing to accept me that way, everyone that way. So every morning he showed up. As soon as everybody left, every morning I was anxious and didn't want to push everyone out the door, but I was anxious to have my time with him, and it was all day long. I had nothing else to do. I'm not a TV watcher. I'm not like that. So I had my time with him. When you understand who he is, and when you understand who you are in him, that's just totally different. I felt so valued by him. And that's very hard for a lot of people to feel that way. And it was hard for me to feel that way too. But I finally felt valued by him. He wanted to spend the time with me. Me, a mere human being, first of all, and it's me, Bonnie. He wanted to spend the time with me. There is still that longing now that all this is gone, and it's taken years for me to recuperate and have my strength back and my mobility back. But there's a time that I long to go back there, to be in that spot. I don't want surgery again. I don't want to be sick. I don't want to be incapable of taking care of myself. I don't want to ever be in that spot. But the time that I had with him, there's just that longing there again. I am so grateful for that relationship and that time that he gave to me and he showed me, knowing how valuable I was, knowing that he listened to me. And I know one thing, that I have to wait on him. He tells me to wait. He tells me when to move. And if I don't hear from him to move and to do something, I wait. And everybody's expecting a loud voice. And I know he answers me, and he comes to me in that still small voice, because he wants my full attention. Nothing else on my mind, just that full attention. In the midst of everything going on, be still and know that I am God. And I know that he will never leave me nor forsake me, because he never did.